Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be taking a look at three Rolex Maritime watches, the Sea Dweller, the Submariner, and the Yachtmaster 2. And the reason I thought I'd look at it is that those are very popular. Rolexes in general are very popular. And what I wanted to do is compare them with other watches that do pretty much the same thing. And I wanted to make two kinds of comparisons. That wasn't totally successful, but I tried. One comparison was a watch that was about on the same price level and everything. And the other one was something that was very affordable. And so we're going to take a look at that and sort of say, well, what would you rather have? In some of the cases, I came down and said, man, I think I like a Rolex for that. Not because it's a Rolex, but because I think it did a good job of what it's trying to do. And so let's take a look at the what I call the Maritime or the marine Rolexes, the Sea Dweller, Submariner, and the Yachtmaster 2. Okay, so let's start with the Sea Dweller. Why the Sea Dweller? I'm not sure, except for one thing. The Sea Dweller seems to be a real diving watch. In other words, it's got a helium release valve on it, and the unidirectional bezels that divers use somehow. I'm not a diver, but from what I understand, most people who buy this and the Submariner aren't divers either. They're what we call desk divers. And so I looked around for a comparison for around the same price range, and unfortunately, I wasn't too successful. I thought, well, the Blank Pawn 50 Fathoms, and they have a relatively new one called the 50 Fathoms X Fathoms, and that thing is almost twice as much. In fact, it's more than twice as much as the Sea Dweller. The thing I liked about it, though, it has lots and lots of information on it. I mean, for a real diver, and this is what I was sort of looking at. But then, on the other hand, you better be a diver to wear that. I can't imagine a lot of other places that you'd wear something like the X Fathoms. Now, the 50 Fathoms, sort of the plain vanilla 50 Fathoms, is a very attractive watch. It's a very nice looking watch, and they did use it for diving, but it didn't have the I didn't see it anyway, the helium release valve on it. So I thought, well, I better leave that aside and stick with the Sea Dweller. Now, and looking at these two, unless I really did diving, which I don't, I'll go with a Sea Dweller because it's a bargain price, relatively speaking. On the other hand, if I actually did diving, I would absolutely go with that X Fathoms. But since I do neither, it's to some extent it's a moot point. But in looking at it, when you're not considering, I'm not a fanboy of either Blank Pawn or Rolex. I like them both. I like both brands. I do, and there's watches in both brands that I'd like to get someday. Just not these, but some people might. Now, on the other hand, if you really are interested in diving and you don't want to spend $28,000 or something like that, I found a really good one. Now, this is a brand I've always liked. I'm not even sure why I like it, but I do, and it's Doxa. And they have one called the Doxa Sub 6000T Professional. they have a number of things that went along with the amount of T, and I'm not sure what that's for. But this particular one is good for 1,800 meters, which is about way more than I'd ever want to go down, even if I were a diver. It's got a unidirectional solid stainless steel bezel like the other two. It's got the hardened steel dual screwdriver bracelet removal tool, which I thought was sort of interesting. The bracelets are held on with screws on the end rather than spring bars. And I think that's a good idea. I really do. For you don't want the band falling, or you don't want the band falling off. By the way, I have on my H. Moser Henry double hairspring. So anyway, that was one thing I thought was interesting about it. Believe me, though, I have two watches with the screws in there. I love the watches. I don't like the screw part of it, though. Now this watch is only $24.90. This is the price from the manufacturer that you can buy online. So it's a great price. Now the movement, immediately I thought, well, they put an ETA in it, but they didn't. They put a Parallel Alternates 10, and then parenthetically I added that they had the Doxa decorations. The picture I have there is of the Parallel Alternates 10 with the Parallel decorations. So, but that's the movement they use, which I thought was really sort of interesting. Doxa is owned by the Jenny family, and Parallel is part of the Festina group, and Festina also owns Soprod, and so I'm sort of thinking, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the movements that are coming out as with a Parallel name on it are really put together by Soprod. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying they are. I just don't know. But I thought that was very interesting. The fact that Doxa was able to get them at a price where they could sell watches for $24.90 of this, with the kind of complications they have on there, and all of the other things that are included, including the helium release valve. By the way, too, Rolex and Doxa back in '69, they were credited for working together to develop the helium release valve. Now, Rolex claimed that they developed it, and Doxa said they developed it with them. Now, the first watch really to be available to the public was called the Doxa Conquistador with the helium release valve. The first one that the Rolex had was the Sea Dweller. Now, the Sea Dweller wasn't available to the general public, but rather to special diving groups, I guess, at the time, with that release valve. So, just a piece of news for you. So this is, of the three we looked at, I'd probably go with a Doxa. Just because for some reason, I'm very much attracted to that orange dial. Okay. So now the next one I want to look at is probably one of the most iconic and certainly one of the most popular Rolexes, and this is the Rolex Submariner. And again, this is a diving watch, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure why they have this one and the Sea Dweller, but I'm sure that the people who are really into Rolex could know why. I don't. But anyway, it's a hugely popular watch. On the other hand, the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter, this is a relatively new one, and it sells for $5,200. Now, I said I was going to try to find ones that were equivalent, and I think these two are pretty equivalent. Now, I know there's a big, $2,000 price difference between these two, but still, it's not bad. I mean, not a huge difference. The thing I like about the Omega Seamaster is I like the dial. It's got a helium release valve up on at 11 o'clock up there. But the thing I like most about it, you can see the movement in the back. And this particular one also is coaxial. So if it came down between these two, at least for me, I'd go with the Omega Seamaster Diver 300. But I wouldn't go diving with it. Wouldn't go diving at all. But I don't know. I just of these two, I seem to like that one better. Now, in looking at the more economical watch, and if you don't want to get can't afford a Submariner or a Seamaster, this Christopher Ward C65 Trident bronze is a nice watch. This is called the C65 Trident bronze SH21 limited edition. Now this has got the SH21 is Christopher Ward's in-house movement, COSC. This watch is tested for 150 meters, which is 450 feet. Unidirectional bezel, and one of my favorite features is hand wound. Now the reason I like hand wound, it doesn't have the rotor, so you can better see the movement. The thing I don't like about this watch is that they have a solid back to it, and that's not too surprising, because if people really do go diving, apparently it's a lot easier to keep them from getting water in there if you have a solid back rather than an exhibition window. So that's one big plus, a giant plus for the Submariner. Like I said, I'm not crazy about the rotaries, but if you can't see it, what does it matter? Now the price on this is $2,110. That's a great price. I mean, you know, it's a nice watch too. So, okay, the final watch I want to take a look at is the Yachtmaster, Rolex Yachtmaster. Now, for a long, long time, the Ulysse Nardine Regatta has been one of my all-time favorite watches. The main reason it's been a favorite watch is that they have this really great video with it. It did win the sports prize, I think, in 2017 or so. And this is it just is such a cool watch. It's got the rubber bracelet to it, sort of rubber and metal together somehow. And this is an absolute neat watch, in my opinion. And then I started taking a look at the Yachtmaster, and I really, really liked it. Not because it's Rolex or anything, but rather because just of the way it was set up. One of the things that you'll see in watches for regattas is a countdown, some kind of countdown on it. And they both have it. And on the Yachtmaster, on their website, they showed how to set it and everything. I'll tell you, before I ever used a Yachtmaster, probably the same is true of the regatta, the Ulysse Nardine Regatta. There's some stuff you got to figure out how to do. Now, of course, this is for a regatta race. I mean, a real racing where you have a countdown. There's a gun or a whistle or a bell or something that goes off, and then that's the first part of it. And then I think you have a 5-minute warning, then a 10-minute warning, and so this thing is all set so you can position, I guess, your yacht so that right at the starting gun you're ready to off you go. And in looking at both of these are very cool watches because they have a countdown to it. I think that the countdown on the Rolex goes clockwise, whereas the countdown on the Ulysse Nardine goes counterclockwise. Either way, they're really very, very cool watches. But of these two, I'd probably go with the Yachtmaster too, because as much as I really do like the Ulysse Nardine Regatta, there was something about the way the countdown was set up and everything they put into it on the Yachtmaster. Not to say anything bad about the Ulysse Nardine Regatta at all, because I love that watch, and they put a lot into it too. Now, however, if I ever had a yacht, I'm really not a yacht person. I had friends with yachts and been in a few races that we lost with them, but it's just not a boat person. I love airplanes though. Okay, so I was looking around. Now this one I found, a company called TNG, and they have something called the Classic Tornado Sailing Chronograph. Man, I tell you, I was looking at this thing. This may actually be a choice I'd make. The one strange thing about this is that they've got it's either a gator or a gator stamped leather band. Why you would have that? One thing I know from my limited experience with sailing is you get wet. If you're in a regatta, you get really wet. But other than that, this watch it was designed by a guy who's won a bunch of real regatta races, and it sells for $31.10. It's a Dutch company with a Valjoux 7750 base movement. Now, what they've done to it is that they put in a countdown, a yachting countdown element within this watch, and so you get the Valjoux 7750 as the base, and then you work with that. And it's got the I'm not sure how they use the pushers and everything. It has a chronograph-like features because the 7750 is for chronographs. But this watch, man, I tell you, it's got, it's really cool. It's got a starting line. It's got these green and red reaching, which I have no idea what that means, but I bet that a racer does. But like I said, the guy who is co-owner of this company is a successful sailing racer, and it's in the Netherlands. So this is a very interesting watch. It's got the countdown timer for 10 and 5 minutes. So does the Yachtmaster. And it's got a tactical planner layout, which I don't know what that means, but it sounds like something very good. What they have on their countdown is really cool. I think it's on the 5-minute one, they have the red dots, and then they turn white as the countdown, so you can really look at it. And then for the 10-minute, they have the blue ones. So this is a serious, like, let's go race our yachts regatta type of watch. And for $3,100, as opposed to the cost of either the Yachtmaster or the Ulysse Nardine Regatta, this is a heck of a good watch for actual racing. Except I would get a rubber or a webbing strap for it. Okay, now listen, I know that a lot of people have very strong feelings about Rolex one way or the other, but I just thought, well, let's take a look at this and see what they have that are, something that we could say, hey, this might be interesting to find out about and see what other ones are, and then find one that would be a real bargain, comparatively speaking. Okay, I really want to hear your opinions about this, and any experience you have with any one of these watches. And this is the invitation to subscribe if you'd like to. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside. Oh, this is for our Sunday review, collection review. Hope to see you then. Until that time, Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.